What's up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner, man. First off, you like this content that is coming your way, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, get all my notifications. It helps me grow the channel a lot. And folks, if you're listening to this on a streaming podcast platform, like, comment, subscribe, and share. We're on Spotify, Apple Play, Google Play, wherever there's a streaming podcast platform, we are there here at NinosCorner Sports. But today we're going to talk about who shines. And what I mean by that, folks, is who do I believe need to be the top playmakers for Texas against Alabama in order to get that dub once we go to Tuscaloosa this weekend. But prior to us getting to that, folks, let's get into our first sponsor. This episode is brought to you by BetUS.com. Go to BetUS.com and get yourselves a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code NinosCorner at BetUS.com. Folks, go download that BetUS.com app from your favorite Apple phone or Android phone and get yourselves a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code NinosCorner. All right, folks, and we're back, man. Look, I got a list of about 6 or 7 players who I believe need to be those no-kidding war daddies here for the University of Texas if we expect to come out with a win against Alabama here on September 9th, Saturday, September 9th in Bryant-Denny Stadium up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. First off, folks, I want to get into the defensive line. My first player that I think that needs to excel has got to be Sweat. Big Trevondre Sweat, man. We need him to be that guy that he's shown that he can be. And I tell you what, he showed in that last game against Rice that he might be the top dog on that entire defensive line. And I tell you what, the competition on that defensive line is going to be amazing. It's going to be great because we know we got dogs there. We know we got a Byron Murphy. Vernon Broughton played very well also. But Sweat looked like he was $1,000,000 in that game. 6'4", 362-pound frame. It's going to be hard to move by anybody, including that Alabama front. If Sweat can do his thing and he can be one of those guys that is going to anchor that line and not get pushed around, I think this Texas defense is going to have an outstanding game against Alabama and be able to stop the run, which is what we need to do. Last year, if you recall, we pretty much stuffed the Alabama run minus one play. And that one play was when Jace took it up on the right side of the field, I think on the shoulder of the right tackle, breaks the tackle, and goes to the races, scores a long touchdown. And it looked like that was a busted, coverage from Jalen Ford. That was probably the only bad play he made last year, to be honest with you. But he has definitely recovered from that play in that game and also in the games after that. But I tell you what, nothing against Jalen Ford because he might be our best player on the defensive side of the ball. But look, that Texas defense stopped that Alabama run very well last year, something that few teams could do last year. Texas was able to do it because they have built up that trench on the defensive side of the ball with guys like Trevondre Sweat, with guys like a Vernon Broughton, guys like Alfred Collins, guys like Byron Murphy. And then if you look at those edges and you have Ethan Burke and you got a Barron Sorrell, you got your taps, I'm telling you, that line is fortified. And I love what I'm seeing for that line. But if that line is going to be great, Trevondre Sweat needs to be that guy who's going to anchor it and do great things. And if he can penetrate and do great things while getting double covered for the most part, it's going to open it up for a bunch of players like Byron Murphy and guys like Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton as well. So that's my first player, Sweat. Sweat has to be that guy that has to anchor that defense on the line and do great things. Now, the other player that I just talked about was Jalen Ford, and about the play that he had. It was a busted play last year where Jace McClellan ran for the touchdown. Jalen Ford's my next guy that has to be that guy, and I have no problem saying that he will be that guy. I think we have seen and trusted Jalen Ford and just seen what kind of player he is. I'm excited about what he's going to be this year. He's already a preseason All-American. Last year, he was a second-team All-American. Should have been the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, but he got screwed out of that. Jalen Ford has to do great things this weekend, and he is. You can tell the confidence really exudes in him. The staff took him out the field pretty early last week. They pretty much put him in bubble wrap because they know how important he is to this team. Now, I tell you, Jalen Ford is going to do great things. He's a ball hawk for one thing. He's going to always find any kind of turnover. where there's an interception or a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. He is going to be the guy that's always around the ball, and that's just something special about Jalen Ford. He's a sure tackler. He's a guy that has great ball instincts, gets a lot of interceptions, and he's just a smart player that sets up the defense. So Jalen Ford is my next guy on this list to be able to ball out. I have no fear that he's not, because he is just that guy. He's always stepped up to the pressure and done great things. Last year against ULM, didn't have the best game, which I think that was his worst game that he had of his Texas career so far. And then he turned that into the Bama game. The next game had a great game and then had a great season. So Jalen Ford's my next guy, and I think he's going to do great things there. The next guy on the list, I just talked about bubble wrapping players after that first game. Jalen Catalon. Jalen Catalon's the guy who was a freshman All-American at Arkansas, all SEC player as a true freshman. And, injuries have, hampered his play at Arkansas when he was there over these past 2 seasons. But I tell you what, he is on the defense playing safety here at Texas. They played him very loosely in the first game, not many snaps, and they took him out bubble wrapping because we understand the importance of what Jalen Catalon is going to bring to this team. Jalen Catalon is my next guy on the list to be able to call those calls from the secondary, get that secondary straight. He is also just like Jalen Ford. He is a ball hawk. He is somebody that is going to always be around the ball. I love Jalen Catalon and the things that he was able to do at Arkansas. He did great things against us, once we played him. But Jalen Catalon is the next guy on this list that if he is able to be free and be himself, which I know he will be able to do that, this secondary is going to be great for the entire season. But for the game against Alabama, we need him to be the Jalen Catalon that we saw that freshman year prior to the soldier injuries. And I tell you what, I think it's going to be there, folks. Him and Jaron Thompson paired up back there is going to be something of beauty. And he can cover very well, especially for safety. He can drop down and get your tight end. He can cover in the slide if he has to. But that's Barron's job. But if he has to in the pinch, he can do that. Jalen Catalon is my next guy on the list that has to be uber efficient, which he is a veteran. He will be uber, efficient and effective here for this team. And if he is on his A game, his defense, I'm telling you, it's going to play lights out. Next person on the list, folks, we're going to go to the offensive side of the ball. Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy he's primed to have a breakout season this year. Almost had 1,000 yards that first season. Had over 700 yards last year. 21 touchdowns over the first 2 years. Xavier Worthy could have had probably 200 yards in that first game if the ball placement were just a little bit better. But I tell you what, he's going to have a hell of a game. It just depends on where he is lined up. But Steve Sarkisian is a master at getting guys open. And Worthy is one of those guys now that since we have A.D. Mitchell, we have Jordan Whittington. Everybody is pretty much healthy. And I'm sorry, not A.D. Mitchell, Adonai Mitchell. Sorry about that. Since everybody's healthy here on this team, it gives him the freedom to do what he has to do on the intermediate routes, catching the ball in space and being able to run with the ball. And then you have Mitchell who's able to take it deep and catch those contested balls, something that we counted on Xavier Worthy to do a lot last year when Isaiah Nayer went down. We don't have to worry about that this year. And speaking about Nayer, we got a chance to see Nayer catch that ball from Malik Murphy in the fourth quarter. So good to see him healthy and back on that field. But Xavier Worthy is my next guy. He's a matchup problem for anybody. I was talking to some guys here earlier today, and we basically said that Xavier Worthy looks faster. He looks faster in his third year here at Texas than he did in his first 2 years. You can tell his frame is filled out. His body's gotten a little bit bigger. He's gained probably a good 10 pounds of muscle on him, and he just looks more full. And there's a great comp about him. A long, striding, skinnier guy, like a slender guy, and that is Deshaun Jackson. And he does kind of remind you with his speed. Deshaun Jackson was a different kind of speed, though. But Worthy, his ability to speed up 0 to 100, but then bring back that 100 to 0 real quick. He is that kind of explosive athlete where he comes out of cuts and slows down so quick that it makes it hard for a defender to stay with him. So I tell you what, Xavier Worthy, if he has a big game here, we're looking to be able to take some hardware back home and get that dub going to Austin, Texas. Next person on the list is none other than Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers has to play better for us to be the team that we want to be here at the University of Texas. He's one of the most coveted players ever, and as a prospect, for the high school football ranks. Excuse me. former 5-star prospect, outstanding arm talent. One thing Quinn has to do is kind of step into his throws just a little bit more, be able to embrace some contact. He has got to get that deep. We've got to land deep balls. That is what makes a Sark offense move, is the ability to go down the field with deep balls and to make the defense fear you. The defense is never going to fear us if we never connect on those deep balls. Now, mind you, Sark said in this press conference that, yes, we didn't connect on those deep balls, but two of those deep balls should have been pass interference calls, and I totally agree. The one on Worthy and the one on Mitchell, those two deep balls should have been pass interference calls. And even though we didn't complete them, those were free 15-yard plays that should have kept the drive going, and they didn't. But if we're not going to get those calls, because guess what? We are in our last season in the Big 12, and a lot of refs probably aren't going to give us the benefit of the doubt. We need to be able to get a game plan that is going to make it easier for Quinn to be able to complete passes. And maybe if the game's a little bit more boring than what Sark would like, and we dump just down the field, 10 yards here, 10 yards there, 15 yards there, and then maybe go over the top for that long pass instead of the 7 or 8 times that we did last year. Maybe it's only 2 or 3 times a game, but it keeps the defense honest and it gets them off by surprise. But it has to be in a way that's going to be the most efficient way for Quinn to complete those passes. And when Quinn does finally complete that explosive 20-yard pass play, I tell you what, that deep ball, it's going to rock the entire Longhorn nation. So Quinn Ewers, we got to have him be able to process the game, make those deep passes when they are there, step into the throws, but also what Quinn has to do. And he showed a lot of this against Rice. Quinn tucked the ball in and ran quite a bit, and I loved it. I absolutely loved Quinn running the ball because he does have wheels, and you can tell. One thing I do want to see out of Quinn when he runs, Quinn, please slide. No more head first dives, baby. Please slide, man. We need you for the rest of the season. But Quinn, use your legs when you have to. Also, hit the deep ball when if we can, and just be more efficient. And I think for us to win this game, he has got to hover in between that 65 to 70% completion percentage range. And if he's there and he hits 1 or 2 of those deep shots, Texas is going to have that opportunity to be in this game and have the opportunity to win this game. The last people on this list, I have it down as a person, but I'm going to say it's going to be the interior offensive line as a whole, not just either guard spot or Jake Majors at center. It's the interior offensive line as a whole. Alabama has some pretty big guys on that, on their interior defensive line. I tell you what, man, Jaheim Otis, who was slimmed down from like 460, what is now 320, 330. He's a monster. They got another guy on there that's about 350, 360 on the defensive line as well. And so we've been hearing all the reports that came out in the summertime and over the fall camps about how the defense for Texas was pretty much having their day with that Texas offensive line. And I only bring that up because we have a 360-pound guy also on our line, which is Trevante Sweat. And so if he was able to pretty much have his way, with that line, with his size and his footwork, you can pretty much project that might be the same thing that could possibly happen against Alabama. That interior offensive line has to play a lot better. I think we have the guys that have the strength. A guy like DJ Campbell, I think, if he is completely healthy. Now, we know he went out in the third quarter with an injury. All the reports saying that he was in the boot here on Sunday. Just for, don't know if it's really for the injury or just to make sure that it is some kind of precautionary measure to make sure that his foot or his ankle, whatever is hurting him, doesn't get hurt anymore. But he has the size. He has the strength. He mauled some. He was very physical when the game slowed down for him. A lot of people don't understand that DJ Campbell not only played tackle in high school, he played defensive tackle as well. So this wasn't the guy who was a full-time guard. Matter of fact, I don't think he ever played guard in high school. It was always tackle. And so for him to move into guard, to be able to get those calls from Jake Majors and have to worry about the stunts and things of that nature, it's a lot going on for him mentally upstairs. But I think he's going to be able to process this. If he processes this and just plays ball like we have seen him play at the high school level, and he was the top-rated recruit in that class, of 2022, I think Texas will have us something good here on our hands. He's a strong guy, 343 pounds, folks. So DJ Campbell has to play a lot better. Just don't worry about what's being said. Just go out there and play. I got all the confidence in the faith in DJ Campbell to do his thing. Very excited to see the maturation process of his future. One of my favorite players in that class of 2022. Also for the interior line, Hayden Connor swapped over from the left guard to the right guard once Campbell got hurt, and we got Neto. Neto was able to go into the left guard position, and Neto was very physical. Neto was very nasty. Neto was a beast when he came in there at the left guard position next to Kelvin Banks Jr., and that kind of solidified that left side of the line, especially for running the ball. And if that is the case, maybe this coaching staff is looking at, do we play Neto a little bit more on that left side and leave the right side up for grabs? Now, this is where everything gets kind of difficult because you got a DJ Campbell who is probably the guy that has the most upside out of anybody that could start in that right, whether it's Hayden Connor, DJ Campbell, or Cole Hudson. Campbell definitely has the most upside. But Hayden Connor is the best pass blocking guard on this team. And Cole Hudson started 13 games last year, folks. So this is where we have the depth there. It's just a matter of massaging that depth to make sure that we get the best product that comes out on Saturday. So that interior offensive line has to do great things for Texas to have the ability to win. And at the center position, Jake Majors is another guy. We got to see more from Jake. We just have to. If that interior offensive line can fortify themselves to be a better unit than what we saw against Rice, Texas has a shot. Now, in saying this, folks, against ULM, I'm not sure how well the line played. I got to go look at the game tape against ULM last year. But in that second game against Bama, they held their own. I mean, they did their thing. They neutralized Dallas Turner, Will Anderson, and this was Kelvin Banks Jr. and Christian Jones. Kelvin Banks Jr. as a freshman, and Christian Jones, everybody had written off. They neutralized that rushing attack, that pass rushing attack from Alabama. So that's why I didn't put the tackles on here, because I'm pretty confident that the tackles are going to show up and do their thing. Dallas Turner is amazing. The other guy on the opposite side, Alabama, keeps stacking them. It's amazing as well. I'm not worried about the tackle positions because I'm pretty confident that they're going to do their thing. It's the interior of the line. Now, going into the Alabama game last year, I was scared that the Alabama defensive line was going to murder the Texas offensive line, and that wasn't the case. And I only said that because we had two freshmen starting last year on that line. Those guys grew up very quick. So they held their own last year, 20-19 game. I think they're going to hold their own this year. I think we're going to see a big jump from week 1 to week 2 in Bryant-Denny Stadium down there in Tuscaloosa, and I'm excited. Now, a couple things that I want to bring up. Maybe some surprise, folks to maybe play in this game. Some surprise substitutions. With the size of Alabama's offensive line, their offensive line is average of 6'5", 340 pounds. We're going to be able to counter that if we have to go big on the defensive line, and we have Vernon Broughton, Byron Murphy, Sweat, Collins. If we have to go big, let's say if we got it for the sake, had to take Barron Sorrell out, that's something that I would never want to do. But let's say we had to go big on big. That's an average, folks, of 6'4", 320 pounds of physical people on that line. Think about that for a minute, folks. 6'4", 320 pounds of folks on that line if we have to go big and not have a guy like Barron Sorrell in. Now, I'm going to look up Barron Sorrell's weight and his height comps because he might actually be close to the height and weight of Broughton. Well, he's about 30 pounds less than Vernon Broughton. So that'd bring that average weight down. But Barron Sorrell is a guy that I don't think you can take off the field at 6'4", 265 pounds or so. I don't think you can take Barron, off the field. He is that talented. And he plays to run very well. He's probably one of our most consistent guys on that defense. But honestly, if we have to go and we have a Sweat and we have Murphy and we have Alfred Collins on that line, just those three alone, you're talking about that's a lot of beef in that line, folks. And then you match that with a guy like Baron Sawera who can stop the run and also rush the passer. I think we're going to be good. But I bring all it up for the surprise substitutions that maybe we will see against Alabama. I think we might have a Sadir Mitchell showing sighting, against Alabama. Him being 6'5", 6'6", 335 pounds or so. You pair him next to a Byron Murphy or Sweat for 3 plays. I understand he is a true freshman, so he's going to give you all he can give for probably those 3 or 4 plays, and he's going to be tapped out. But for them 3 or 4 plays, you're probably not going to want to be in front of him. And so if Texas gets in a situation where they're in a goal line defense or on an obvious rundown where maybe Alabama is kind of behind in the chains there, and maybe it's a third and 15, and we understand that the field position they have is going to require a run. Maybe a guy like Sadir Mitchell comes in to help fortify that defensive line. So I think we might have a Sadir Mitchell showing here for this game. Just a little speculation on my part. And also, for Texas to win this game, we got to stop the run. And I already told you guys about the defensive line and how I think that they will be able to neutralize that Alabama running game. But the one caveat about that is Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is a guy who's very athletic. He's a guy that he can run at will. When he's running the ball, he is essentially a running back at his size, which is 6'2", about 225 or so, but he's muscular, he's strong, he's fast. He can make something out of nothing. How does Texas counter that? We got to figure out, do we have to spy him all the time? Do we have guys in that defense that are fast enough to stay with him in the starting lineup for the defense? I brought up earlier this morning, had a podcast with Orange Bloods, with my boy Nash Talks Texas for their morning show. And I said, does Texas spy him with Anthony Hill? Could be. This is where I thought that a guy like Mo Blackwell would have been outstanding because he was a previous safety, has the speed and also the thumping power to get a guy that is that big, a guy of that size with Jalen Milroe, him being a 225-pound quarterback who's built like a rock in a tank, runs fast, and is very hard to bring down. Mo Blackwell would have been the perfect guy to spy him, but he's not there. And so what do? Do we bring in Anthony Hills? Do we have Jalen Ford spy him? But is he fast enough to keep up with Jalen Milroe for the entire game to spy? Or do we want Jalen Ford to be able to hawk the middle of the field and be very, instinctual to get those interceptions and to force those fumbles? Is that what we want him to do? My surprise substitution on here is we saw a lot of this guy play in the first game, and I was very surprised. He looked like a grown man, and that's Derek Williams, the safety, who is a big kid as well. And I'm gonna look at the Texas roster here just to see how big he is. I just remember him being freaking huge, and I was like, this guy cannot be a freshman. There's no way in God's green earth that this kid is 17 or 18 years old. He's 6'2", about 190 to 195 pounds, Derek Williams Jr. And if you see him on the screen, he's going to be number 2 on your screen this weekend. What if Texas brings in a Derek Williams who's already built like an NFL player at 6'2", 190 pounds? But I think he also has the hitting power. He has the speed to also keep up with a Jalen Milroe. Does Texas utilize that to have him basically mirror him to basically spy a Jalen Milroe in certain passing down situations? We already know he has the instincts to be able to play the passing game if need be. And Jalen Milroe also, folks, if you go look at some of that film, he went on his first read pretty much the entire game. We didn't see him have to go to the second and third read. And maybe that was by design because that was a very vanilla offense that Texas, well, not Texas, that Bama ran against their past opponent. But this is Jalen Milroe. It's probably going to be his biggest start of his career so far. Him being a Texas kid and now playing against these Texas kids that he knows. He knows Hayden Conner. I talked to Hayden Conner's dad at the Oklahoma game, and he was telling me how much he really loved Jalen Milroe and just how much of a good kid he was. They know each other. Texas Football Network is small in the high school ranks, so this is going to be almost be like a homecoming for him outside of home, if that makes sense. He's going to be starting for the first time against a full Texas team, his home state team at his stadium in Alabama. So this is going to be big for him as well. So I look at a surprise substitution might be a guy like Derek Williams, who comes in and spies Jalen Milroe. He has the instincts to intercept the ball if the ball's passed and play the pass if it has to happen, but also the speed and the power to take down a guy like Jalen Milroe. So those are my thoughts. Those are the players who I think are going to shine or who needs to shine if Texas is to win this game against Alabama here Saturday, September 9th, Bryant Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Folks, I will be there at the game. So if you see me there, man, tap me on the shoulder, man. Let's have a drink. I'm going to tailgate prior to the game. I'm going to go to a few bars early in the morning with the family. So if you see me out, holler at me. Don't be scared. I talk to everybody at the games. We have a lot of fun. But on that note, folks, man, in this podcast, I can end them all, man. Do you? Don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance. Horns always up. Nino's Corner. We out. Hook 'em.